Hello crafters. So today I am working on a jig to hold my mini 3-inch granny squares for my new throw that I'm making in a challenge project. So it's going to take about 70 of every color, and I'm doing 7 colors. So I wanted some way to like keep them all in order, and once I block them, stay blocked, stay fresh, so until I get ready to assemble the actual throw. So what I did to make my little jig here is I went to the Dollar Tree and I bought these wooden blocks that are 7.5 by 5.5. I think is what the ticket says. I've scratched the ticket off of this one. And I took my little sanding block and I sanded the edges real good. I even used a nail file to kind of make them really rounded and so there's nothing sharp. And I made a template using my Cricut. Now, you don't have to have a Cricut to do that. You can just make your template yourself. You know, you got your granny square. You can lay it on a piece of cardstock or right onto the wood if you want to. And just what I would do if I was not using the Cricut is I would make a line from corner to corner that is exact. And if you need something to do that with, you can buy these also at the Dollar Tree. And you can actually just drill your holes in this, lay it over that, drill it again, use this as your template. I mean, it's only $1.25. So what I would do is, if I didn't have this drawn off with my Cricut, I would take my finished granny square, because everybody's would be different based on how you crochet and what kind of yarn you're using, etc. But here's the way I would do it if I wasn't using my Cricut. I would get a pen or a magic marker or something that wouldn't stain my yarn, and make a point here, a point here, and a point here, and a point here with a pen, and then same thing here. And then I would go back and make sure that that forms a perfect X using the grid that is on this green thing, or you can just draw it on your paper. If you don't care about it being exact, then you can just draw off approximately what you think it is. And what you're going to do is take your template with where your holes are going to be, lay it on your piece of wood. I put a little sticky tape here so it'd stay in place and got it kind of stuck down. And then you can just draw a little dot where each hole is going to be. And then you're going to need a drill. And what I used is my hand drill, like this, with a 9/64 drill bit. That's 9/64, which is just 1/64 larger than an 1/8. Because even though these dowels from Hobby Lobby, which is what I bought, 12-inch dowels right here, poplar, make sure you get poplar so they won't warp or bend real easy. And they're 12 inches long, and I just cut them in half, because I'm going to just have 6 inches sticking up. Because otherwise, if you have any longer than that, you start putting the yarn on there, it's not going to hold it taut. It can't hold that much. So 6 inches, but they're 1/8-inch dowels. There's no such thing as an 1/8-inch dowel. It's really not 1/8 of an inch. It might be 9/64. Some might be somewhere between 9/64 and an 1/8. You just never know. It's bigger than an 1/8, but not quite as big as 9/64. So I went with the bigger hole. And all I did, in order to make my holes be perpendicular, because you want to make sure you don't drill your hole wonky-jawed like that. You want to make sure it's perpendicular. I have these ninja blocks that I've glued together to use as, I do paper crafting. I use it to like get in the corners of the paper to press it down, so forth like that. I just use these because they're glued together. And I know that right there is a 90-degree angle, just like that. So you can just take your drill and make sure that it gets butted up into that corner like that, and just drill into your wood like that. Or if you want to do like I did, I took another block that I had drilled together, used that as my template, drilled a straight up and down perpendicular hole, and then I just take that and put that like that, put that on here and press it down, and I know it's going to be perpendicular. So, and you don't have to drill all the way through. You can just drill halfway through this piece, or almost all the way through, and then pull that off and drill all the way through to the bottom. Of course, you need to make sure you're in your workshop or you have 3 or 4 pieces of wood underneath you so you don't drill through your tabletop. And once you get all your holes drilled, then you're just going to take your dowel and stick it in there. And then your actual piece will just go down over the dowels. And what I do is I turn on my iron and I get my steam going and I steam the block. And then as I steam the block, I'll glue these in. They can just be temporary, but you can glue them in if you want to. I take my square and I put it over the 4 prongs where the holes are, just like that. And just start stacking them up. And I did take some sandpaper and sanded these dowels just to make sure that the yarn doesn't catch on it and it slides up and down. And then you can just stack up a whole stack of them like this, and they'll stay nice and blocked until you're ready to assemble them. And that was easy peasy. The block of wood at Dollar Tree cost $1.25. The dowels, I believe, were $4 from Hobby Lobby, or less than that. It wasn't very much. And there's like 50 in the package. So you get all the straight ones out, and yeah, check them and make sure that they look straight and not warped. And take your little sanding block if you have one, and just these are actually little nail file sanding blocks, which are nice because they're very fine sandpaper. And just make sure that they're nice and smooth, and there's not going to be any little roughness of the wood that's going to catch on your yarn. Just like that. That's nice and smooth now, and they fit right in those holes. And that's how I did it. So you will need a drill with a drill bit, and you're going to need some sort of template, way to make a template. If you make your template out of one of these, you can just drill a hole in these and then lay it over your wood and just use it as a template to drill through. Again, it's only $1.25, so you haven't invested a lot if it doesn't turn out the way you like it to. So I hope that helps you out, a way to block your granny squares. And of course, depending on your granny square size, you can make buy these blocks and make it in all sizes. You can make take your holes and drill them all over this board and just have a bunch of dowels, and you can just rearrange them according to the size of your granny square. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's selling this particular item. I used to use that spongy blue stuff that you put together, and it makes like as big as you want for like quilt blocking, but that's pens, and I didn't want to have to be pulling the pen out and trying to line it back up with this hole every time. And I saw this girl on YouTube that was using something similar to this that she had made, and I was just going to show you how I made mine, all very inexpensively from the Dollar Tree. Enjoy! These are the tools that I used. A Ryobi battery-powered handheld drill with a 9/64 drill bit. I used a craft knife to cut the dowels. I used an emery board to sand the end of the dowels. And I used a sanding pad to make sure that the dowels were very smooth. I used the board from Dollar Tree that's 3/4 of an inch thick. It's 7.5 inches by 5.5 inches. I used a pack of dowels that are measured 1/8 inch from Hobby Lobby. And I used some sticky tape to hold my pattern in place while I drill the holes. I used my jigs that I created out of Jenga blocks that I purchased at Dollar Tree, and they glued together with just some wood glue.